Hi homesteaders, my name is Melissa with Homestead and welcome to my channel where we focus on homesteading skills, self-sufficiency, and resilience. And today I want to talk to you about the 10 essential skills we feel like you need to learn now if you're considering moving to a homestead or if you want to start homesteading. Please like and subscribe to help our channel grow. So today let's start with number 1. Grow your own food. Yeah, it's so important that you grow your own food if you want to be a homesteader. That is, homesteading really is whatever you make it. And for us, we live on a 1/4 acre lot. We do not own a farm. We do have that plan, of course, to move out onto a piece of property in retirement. But we are homesteading right where we're at, and we are working on the skills that we know we're going to need when we move out. It's important for you to start with growing your own food. No matter where you live, if you live in an apartment or a piece of property or in a neighborhood, there's ways that you can grow your own food, and it's the best way to start because if you're going to gardening is not hard, but it's also not easy. There's a lot of things that you have to be concerned about. The pH of the soil, the temperature of the soil, what grows well in your growing zone, the pests that you might get with your foods. What foods do you really like to eat? Those are important things to consider when you're actually gardening. And there's a lot of tools that you need for gardening, but if you want, you can actually start really small. So we've shared this before on this channel. We have 3 gardens back here in our 1/4 acre lot. We have 2 5x12s and 1 3x12. We are doing some massive vertical gardening this year and also succession planting, which we have done we've done that for a long time. For the last multiple years that we've been here, we've done succession planting. And if you don't know what that is, succession planting is when you plant one thing in the garden and when it comes out, when it's ready to harvest, you actually put something else in its place. So we have garlic. We have a garlic bed right now that's 3x12. And when the garlic comes out, sweet potatoes are going in there. And I'm pretty sure I'll have enough time to do sweet potatoes. You need 90 days, and we should have 90 days when the garlic comes out. The onions will be coming out. We just put onions in. They took about 90 days. The onions will be coming out in July. So we still have a good 6 weeks, well, really more like 10 weeks to grow something, and sometimes even as much as 14 weeks left, depending if we have a long growing season. So I don't know what that's going to be just yet, probably something like spinach or beets or lettuce, something that we can use in the fall, we'll plant in that area. So it's important to grow your own food and to learn about growing your own food. So what if you live in an apartment? How do you handle that? Because a lot of people will say, well, I can't garden because I live in an apartment. That's not true. There are a lot of people that actually start their homesteading journey in an apartment in hopes that they will be able to move out to a homestead. So you can grow things in your home, like in the wintertime, you can grow herbs. It's really easy to grow parsley and rosemary, sage, any of those things that you want to do some fresh cooking with, you can grow in pots. It's not hard to grow that stuff in your home. So if you can grow herbs in your home, you absolutely can grow herbs on your patio. You can grow tomatoes, beets, lettuce, spinach, all those things can be grown in pots on your patio. So learn how to grow food now. That is an essential skill as a homesteader. Number 2, start your own seeds. So we started our seedlings at the end of February. It's the middle of April now, and they are booming. They are ready to go into the ground. So we started our seedlings with, we just bought a seed packet, started our peppers. We started some flowers because I wanted to get an early start on some flowers this year so that I could plant them right out into the garden. We have watermelon, cantaloupe, some winter squash, some loofah we're growing, and tomatoes and peppers. So that's it. And I started onions, but I didn't start them early enough. So we ended up having to purchase some onion root plants to actually put in the garden this year. But otherwise, we are growing everything that we can from seeds. So in your garden, there are some things that you will start from seed and will not transplant. But there are other things that are much better especially for our growing zone, to actually have a starter plant to go into the ground. So if that's the case, then we actually start our peppers and tomatoes. Those are the big things that we have. We don't have to start our squash and melons in a seedling tray if we don't want to. They would do fine outside if we planted them right into the ground. But I was trying to get a head start because we have a huge issue with squash bugs, and I wanted to have a really strong plant going into the ground before the squash bugs actually even know that the plant is there. I'm hoping to get a really strong plant that's already started to fruit by the time the squash bugs actually come to the surface. So that's my plan because they will demolish your plant pretty easily. So starting your own seeds, it's cheap. It saves a ton of money if you actually go and buy a plant at a garden center. You're going to spend at least $3, if not more, on each plant. So if you're planting on, if you're new at this and you're like, I just want to try this, then go ahead and take. If you've got 40 bucks, go ahead and go to the garden center, buy you some pre-existing plants that are already established, and then plant them in some pots or plant them out in your garden to get a head start on things. But I would say if you want to be a homesteader, that starting seeds is imperative. Number 3, saving your seeds. Now, I don't know if you know this, but if you're new to homesteading, you can save your seeds off of plants that grow in your garden. You can save your pepper seeds, your tomato seeds. When your lettuce bolts, it goes to seed, you can actually save those seeds and your spinach so that you can actually grow it the following year. Green beans, if you leave the green beans on the plant until the end of the season when they get kind of like hard and dark, they'll actually produce the bean actually will develop inside the pod of your green bean, and you can use those to plant your green beans the following year. So there's all kinds of seeds that you can collect. Watermelon seeds, cantaloupe seeds, squash seeds. I'm going to do all those things this year. I've done some seed saving in the past, but I am going to save every single seed from my garden this year, which I've not done before. I've kind of would pick and choose, and kind of like would maybe not always, like I would lose some steam, but it's a goal of mine this year because when I buy seed packets, they're cheaper than plants, but they're still costing me money. So I really would like to take what I have in the garden and rotate that. Okay, number 4, learn to preserve your food. There's so many ways that you can preserve food. The ways that we preserve here on our little homestead is we dehydrate, we do some fermentation, we do water bath canning and pressure canning, and then we do a lot of freezing too. And freezing is not what you think it is all the time. You can't just take your vegetables and throw them in the freezer. There is a little bit of a process to making sure that you do that appropriately. And so every vegetable is different, so it's important to learn those steps. But if you can grow your own food and learn how to preserve your food, you can actually save a ton of money throughout the year without going to the grocery store. You can actually have a pantry full of foods from your garden that will take you way into the next season. Number 5, cook from scratch. So I cook really everything from scratch now. I don't use store-bought pastas. I don't use store-bought bread. I have pretty much everything that I need either canned or in my pantry to actually learn to cook, to make everything from scratch. So we make our pasta from scratch when we do have pasta. We don't have a lot of pasta because I use spaghetti squash in place of pasta, but we make our own bread here. I make my own kombucha. I make my own yogurt. I make some of my own cheeses, which we'll get to here in a bit. So learning to cook from scratch is really important. It doesn't take that long, really. It doesn't. I mean, honestly, it takes about as long to make something from scratch as it does to follow the instructions on the box when you buy it from the grocery store. But you're going to save a ton of money. And if you're a true homesteader, you are going to use all the resources you have right on your property. So learn to cook from scratch. Number 6, build relationships. So we think this is so important. We have built relationships with some farmers in our area and other food producers because you literally cannot produce all your own food. it's pretty difficult to do that. You'll see that a lot of farmers will produce only like one type of crop or a couple of crops because that's really what their concentration is. That's all they can do. Um, but it's difficult to actually grow every single thing and to have everything. So we have a really good relationship with, there is somebody two properties down from us that has an orchard. We have built a relationship with Dave down there, and I buy my rhubarb and my apples from Dave. And then, of course, this year I planted my own rhubarb, so I'll have some rhubarb next year. But Dave's been a good source for me for those things. He actually is at the farmers market that we're at, and we buy a lot from him. And then we've built relationships with a couple of farmers. One that we actually purchase eggs from. We actually do have a resource for milk. It's a little far away, so we've kind of stopped doing that. That's like one of the only things I buy from the grocery store is milk, because the raw milk that I was getting is honestly over an hour away for me to drive, and it's a little far for me. So I'm working on trying to find a source here locally that's maybe within 30 minutes. That's what I'd really like. And then we have a relationship with a pig and cow farmer, and we actually we order our hog and our cow that we keep in our freezer. We order from him. So it's important to build those relationships. Not only that, but build relationships with people in your community that are doing the same thing as you. We have two neighbors next to us. Both of them are really big gardeners as well, and we have a little bit of a language difference, so sometimes it's hard to communicate, but they share some of their produce, I share some of my produce, so that is a great connection to have. Also, you should build connections with other people that are homesteading so that you can share ideas and get new ideas from them as well. It's a good support to have in a community of homesteaders. Number 7, learn to make bread. I know you probably see this all over the internet. Sourdough is the craze right now, but let me tell you why sourdough is the craze. First of all, if you have a sourdough starter, it can last you 10, 20, 30, 40 years if you continue to feed it and keep it supported. And so that is just phenomenal that it can continue to go. It is fermented, of course, and so sourdough provides a lot of good, healthy bacteria and antibiotics for your gut. And so, as well as kombucha, so that's another one that actually does that, and yogurt. But sourdough creates its own type of yeast, so you can get a good bread rise from the sourdough without using traditional bread yeast. So it's important to learn that. And if you learn how to make bread, you can make biscuits, you can make bread, you can make rolls, you can make hamburger buns, you can make hot dog buns, you can make scones, donuts, pasta. If you know how to make bread, you can make everything you can buy from the grocery store. Not only that, but you can learn to cook like this once a week and prep everything for the week. So what I do is I make our bread a whole week on Saturday or Sunday. But if you want pasta, you can literally make your pasta, wrap it up in a little like ball on a piece of wax paper, let it air dry really, really good, stick it in a ball jar, and you actually can have pasta for a month or two and then just cook your pasta when you want it. It's not that hard. It takes very few ingredients, and it's just a great homesteading skill to have. Number 8, build a stocking pantry and a working pantry. I've shared with you my pantries on here before. We have what I call a stocking pantry, and that is bulk items that we keep in stock all the time. We have lots of things in bulk right now. We've got honey and peanut butter, dry milk, wheat berries. I've got flours. So I've got 2 different flours and 2 different types of wheat berries right now in stock. We've got sugar, brown sugar, powdered sugar. We have rice. We've got pretty much every type of bean you can even imagine. I'm sure I'm missing something, but we have all of those things. And then we also have a spice pantry, and our spice pantry includes things like garlic powder and minced garlic and oregano and parsley and chili powder and Italian seasoning that we make here in our kitchen. I actually take all the seasonings I have to make an Italian seasoning. I know you guys have heard me beat this up, but an everything bagel seasoning. So we have all the herbs. We have an herb pantry that helps us to create whatever mixes that we want, whatever spices that we need, and we can use them right here in our kitchen when we're cooking. So the working pantry, what that is taking whatever you have in your back stock and putting it in smaller containers so that you can use it on a more regular basis. So my working pantry has maybe like a quart or half a gallon jars of items that I use on a regular basis. For instance, I might have like a quart jar of baking powder. I have that in bulk as well, or baking powder, or let's see, some flours, some salts, things like that. Oh, we buy salt in bulk as well. So that way you're not having to get into your your stocking pantry all the time. That stocking pantry is just to stock your working pantry so that working pantry is something you're working off of all the time. And then you're replacing that stuff all the time. So important to have that, especially if you're going to live out. You need to have a stock of all these things. Number 9, cheese making. Now, I'm pretty new at cheese making, but I have learned to make a few cheeses here recently, and I am falling in love with it. First of all, I'm sure you've seen, if you haven't, I'd love for you to watch my video on actually preserving cheese for 25 years. I did buy some bulk cheese from Costco and from Azure Standard. We dipped it in wax and food safe wax so that it would save for up to 25 years. Now, we're not planning on keeping it for 25 years. It's in our drawer refrigerator, but I didn't want it to grow mold after I cut it. And so I wanted it to stay. I mean, I'm thinking we might have 6 months of cheese in there. I'm not sure. I've dated all of that, and I'm going to keep track of that so I know how long it takes us to go through that. I wouldn't mind having a year's worth of cheese in my fridge because I think I like to have a year's worth of anything in my house just in case there's something that happens. So in our area, it's very common that people have tornadoes and you can lose power for a couple of days up to a couple of weeks. And so I just want to have things here in my home that I can actually easily access, because in a situation like that, it might be difficult to get things at the grocery store, especially if it's a widespread thing. So I like to have those things. So right now, I've made ricotta cheese and cottage cheese and farmer's cheese. I'm getting ready to make some mozzarella. I haven't done that yet, but I have all the things to make mozzarella. And then I would like to make some other types of cheese, maybe some Gouda. But, and we're planning on getting a cheese refrigerator so that I can do some of that. And that is something I think is a great, especially if you have a homestead and you have a milk cow, you have an excess amount of milk and cream, you might as well be making cheese. So a great homesteading skill to have under your belt. And last but not least, number 10, DIY cleaning and beauty products. So I do make some of my own I make my own face cream out of tallow, and I also make a lotion out of tallow. I have my own face cleanser and also eye cleanser for eye makeup. And then I'm just made some shower cleaner. I just made our own shower gel. And then I'm working on doing some other types of cleaners as well. And I'll probably share that on here at some point, but I'm still trying to work on what works and what doesn't. The shower cleaner, it's okay. It works okay. The problem is that it doesn't have everything's not like all organic and natural, and I would like that. So I'm working through that. But if you have all the things in your house, and I would say like distilled water and vinegar are 2 really great things to have in your home. Tallow is great. Essential oils would be great. I have some fractionated coconut oil. I have almond oil and some cocoa butter. So if you just have like a stock of all of those things, then you can make pretty much anything that you want. Cleaners, cleansers, facial cleansers, facial creams, anything like that you can make. So just a great essential skill to have under your belt. So we hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. We hope you're having the best day. Bye.